So welcome to the Dooryard Union. I'm Courtney Atkinson. That's Colin Harms. And this is Derek Luce from Dominion Lending Mortgage Excellence. Can you tell I've been practicing that for a long time? So Dooryard Union's a show where we get together and hang out with badass entrepreneurs like this guy and get them to give us their dirt, basically. We want to hear all their awesome stories about how they got to be such badasses. And so if you've been around Lethbridge for any time at all, I'm sure that you've heard Derek speak, or you might have seen him on TV or on social media talking about what he does. But Derek, we're here today to talk about your journey into entrepreneurialism, because from what I understand, mortgages isn't the only thing that you're interested in, and you've got a few things. So maybe take us like way back to young Derek Luce, and tell us a story about how you got involved in entrepreneurialism. Like when was it that you had decided that you weren't going to be a guy that went to work for some other guy or gal and made those decisions? Maybe just take a step back with us.
I think the first thought is you kind of have all your dreams and your goals and what you expect your life to turn out to when you're a kid. And I actually, the very first thing I went out to do is be an actor. So crazy enough, that was my first venture into. I went to college for it. I got trained in theater. I took dance lessons.
Where did you go?
Singing lessons. Grant MacEwan, Edmonton.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Musical theater program. Highly sought after in the workplace when you're done.
You were?
Yeah. So it's when you have a musical theater diploma, man, people just really. They're really asking for that, so it really doesn't get you much, right? So it's just a good experience.
That's like my English degree. Like, yeah,
money well spent.
They just throw the money at you.
Yeah, they just whatever.
Were you on stage and they were going like this?
Yeah, that's how we do it, right? You get into all of it. Yeah. So I think a lot of it, what I discovered there is I was after one of the important lessons there. One is how to get critiqued and not take it personal, because that's your whole career. Is you do something, they obliterate you, and then they move on. Mm-hmm. And then and the second half is that you might like the idea of something, but it's the work and the journey you have to love in order to. So I really liked the idea of being a famous actor. That was kind of cool. But when you actually had to do the grind, the daily grind, and the unsexy that everyone has to do, I hated it. I despised rehearsing. I despised auditioning. Yeah. Those are two crucial things when you want to be an actor. Right. And so I just kind of moved on quickly from that. I went broke in Vancouver. Yeah. So in there trying to be an actor, I hit the pavement after college. I was selling vacuums on the side, and
who for, like Electrolux or
Vortex was their name.
Okay,
yeah. So they were a $2,400.
Are you like 50? Like selling vacuums?
Like that, eh? Yeah. It was
like sucking up marbles off somebody's carpet. In their living room.
I was 20. Yeah, and I was
amazing.
I was getting kicked out of houses because I was just.
They're like, have you ever used a vacuum before, son? You're like, no.
And you're just entertaining yourself, being a, kind of a smart ass to people, and you don't really know what you're doing. I was a kid, and I was just trying to make money so I could stay there. Yeah. So I didn't really know what I was doing.
Vancouver's never been cheap, so.
No, and I was renting some basement suite. So when I went broke, like I just ran right out of money. Like I had enough money to get my car home, so I could go home. Back home to my folks' house. Yeah. And so as I was driving back, I was just that's where you just kind of ponder, like, what do you
sell
want to
them
do?
A vacuum?
No, they didn't buy.
They had your last vacuum. It'd be cool if you did.
You had to give it up or pay for it.
So really?
I gave it back. I couldn't.
You're like, I really need the gas money to get back to Alberta.
Well, I did go broke, so I couldn't have sold it to anyone.
Right.
so it wasn't. So then I just kind of journeyed on from there, working in casinos. Yeah. So I went to a casino. That purpose was just to meet my wife, really, and then. Worked in casinos.
What were you doing in the casinos?
You were looking for a wife in the casino?
No, slinging cards. I met her there.
Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah, so I was just slinging cards, dealing craps and roulette, and I did that. That's kind of a figure out your life kind of a gig for me.
It seems like a fun gig, yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was entertaining. Good for when you're young.
Yeah.
And then and still just kind of dreaming and plotting. And then it was really my journey into entrepreneurship was really. I would probably credit my wife for that. Is when I met my wife, that's when I realized that the people that if you want to build a life and a family, they don't they don't stay with starving artists very long if they really like. They just it's a hard thing. You have to meet another starving artist if you want to go that way.
Yeah.
Because they want to build a life too, and they don't want to spend a lot of time there. So that's when
so she's like, okay, like get to it.
Yeah. So no, and she was very good and kind of kind as far as letting me figure it out. But I could tell that wasn't going to be a long-term solution. So then I went into finance, and that was kind of when I discovered that I really should be my own boss. I wasn't a great employee. Yeah. And
so what did you do when you say you went into finance? What does that mean?
Investments and insurance. So I sold investment insurance.
Yeah.
And just kind of journeyed through there, and that's where I discovered I'm mortgages now. I own a mortgage brokerage, but basically I figured out I liked lending. I enjoyed that process with the client a lot better than actually talking about insurance. I wasn't as good at insurance as I was about figuring out the structure of the loan and the interest rates and stuff like that.
So how did that work? So you're doing the whole insurance thing, and you're talking to families, after hours at their dinner table or whatever. How did you get into mortgages? I mean, they were kind of related. Like mortgages have insurance, but they're also like completely kind of different industries too, right?
Yeah. Actually, there comes a time when you have to refer to a mortgage person. So I would refer to a mortgage guy. And I remember when he was going through his process of figuring out how to structure their debts and how to free up some money for them, I was fascinated. I was very interested.
Yeah.
And so I was really excited when he was doing his thing, and look, we can save him this much money, and this is really cool. And then he said, okay, perfect. It's all set up. They're good to go. Now it's your turn to sell the investments and insurance. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. Yeah. And so I thought,
and you're like, that's a great song and dance, but mine's better.
Yeah, let's see. So I'm like, I hate my job. Right. And I really like this guy. So I really just picked up the phone and I phoned that guy. And I'm like, how do you do what you do? Because I think I should do that. Yeah. And I was 26 at the time.
That's exciting.
And so then I said, I just think I should be in lending. And then I just, and it's history from there.
That's pretty
Took
cool.
the course, had a little bit of a knack for it. And so that was a start of kind of opening up my mind to entrepreneurship, what it took to succeed and write your own paychecks. That was the big
So
thing.
at that time, who were you brokered with? Like where was your brokerage at that time?
When I started?
Yeah.
Mortgages?
Yeah.
Yeah, I started here with ProLink in Lethbridge. Yeah. It then became Access, and then we moved on to Dominion.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
So we started Dominion. I started Dominion here.
Yeah.
And with another guy. So we started Dominion in 07, end of 07.
Yeah.
So we were the first Dominion, and they became the number one company nationally.
Really?
And
so you're the first one?
The first Dominion.
We were the first one in Lethbridge.
We got it. I understand now. Yeah. And so we opened up, and really they became like in 08, 09, they just became this behemoth in the mortgage industry nationally. Yeah. Totally by fluke. Like I would love to say that we foresaw that coming. Yeah. It was flipping through a magazine. We don't have one of those. Let's go with them. Call those guys out.
Really? Like it really is. Sometimes it is just kind of, sometimes as we all know with entrepreneurship, sometimes it's just taking action and you fall into a little bit of luck.
Yeah, a little bit of throwing darts though too.
Yeah, like it's, the stones to start your own brokerage, but then a little bit of luck that the company that you joined was going to be this motivated kind of mammoth of a company that made waves.
So I'm curious about starting your own brokerage, because you were, kind of with an outfit before, and I mean, anybody that started a brokerage knows that like it's a pain. You got to have like all kinds of accounts. You got to be registered with RECA and so forth and so on. Like, why not just go like be a broker at another brokerage?
Yeah, I think it's just a desire to do your own thing. To do.
So you want to like just make a big badass thing.
Yeah, just say how good can we do?
Can we? Awesome.
So you started out just the two of you?
Yeah, two and an office manager, and it's just how can we grow this thing? How can we do this thing?
Yeah. So in that business, how easy is it, or was it from, you said 08, 09, to scale up to where you're at today?
Oh,
like the market changes weekly, monthly, yearly.
Yeah, and mortgages are getting easier and easier to get.
Yeah, mortgages is just they're handing out money. No more documents needed.
No,
right? Like it's
like
so money's harder to get. Scaling up, finding great agents is tough. We got phenomenal people,
How many people
And,
at your
well,
firm?
there's 18 total.
Yeah.
But we have 5 staff who are incredible. They make us look good every day. I mean, you know how that is. I mean, if you don't have good people, you really got nothing.
Yeah.
And our agents are the top. Like in our office currently, we have 6 with our Hall of Famers. I mean, they've done a lot of business nationally with Dominion, and so having 6 of them in one small office in Lethbridge is something we're quite proud of.
So,
And it's more kudos to the guys, just how good they are and how pro they are. And so I mean, it's hard and scaling up. What we are finding though, the harder it gets, the more we're in need. So that does help us a little bit. Someone who's a specialist, you can't just be at a bank where you have to sell 17 things and really zone in on these mortgage changes. It's tough on them. Has nothing to do with anybody that works at the branch. They're just overwhelmed with all the info they have to stay up with.
Yeah.
So having a specialist becomes really needed in a market like this. So that's where we're finding a little bit of benefit there. But yeah, it's tough.
So how do you mean by, maybe you can explain a little bit, what do you mean by a specialist? Like what would a specialist do?
Well, it's just like I do mortgages. So
Okay,
I'm not going to sell you an RSP. I'm not going
Right.
to sell you
Okay.
a Visa.
Yeah.
I know mortgages. I know them inside and out. I know how to get them done. I know what scenarios can get done. And I also know which lender favors which product, right? Because there's some lenders that favor self-employed people because they understand it better. There's some lenders that, they favor just kind of your crisp government workers with 10% down, like really easy files. So every lender's got their preferences and something that they're strong at and something that they're not so strong at. So a specialist would know, that's a Scotiabank deal, that's a TD deal.
Oh, okay.
That's so then you can shop those people down around and get it done a little bit more efficiently and more importantly, get it done.
So then you would segment it down, in your industry, residential, commercial, ag, that type of thing as well with a specialist, or just a broad?
No, we're
broad
more.
spectrum?
The bulk of our guys are residential mortgage guys, but we
right.
do have a commercial guy that he specializes. He will not do kind of commercial loans. He specializes in. I mean, he will not do residential loans. He specializes in commercial.
Because he understands the same thing in that.
He's
sector.
been doing it for 25 years. It's what he's interested in, and
Really?
it's what he does.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he's good at it. So that's fair.
I didn't know there was brokers for commercial for that long. Like for 25 years, they've been able to shop like that. Or did he work with a bank?
He worked with a bank.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's been in the game for
I see.
25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So he worked in a bank, and then he ran his own kind of
Got it.
lending some of his own money, and then he's he brokers with us, and he's just got the connections and understands it. Commercial world's different than residential.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the
For sure.
yeah.
Cool. So tell me this: we've got 18 agents at your place, and you have a really strong foothold in the market. You're really well respected, and presumably across your brokerage, there's a really high level of professionalism and expertise, and presumably you also play a role in that. So talk to us a bit about the training and all of the onboarding and those kind of things that are so essential to having continuity from broker to broker and being able to deliver consistent service. I'm curious in that for obvious reasons, but I'm sure our viewers are as well.
Yeah, I think we've been on a journey. I would say even the last 3 years. So we used to run as any entrepreneur, and I think every entrepreneur that checks us out. You've lived it. You kind of start wild west. You don't really know what we're kind of especially and I can speak from the mortgages standpoint is we're self-employed individuals that all of a sudden have a knack for getting mortgages done. And so we start to get a little bit of success there, and then all of a sudden we wake up and we have a business that staff are relying on us, brokers are relying on us, and we're making decisions as a business person. But we weren't business people; we were self-employed guys.
Yeah.
and so the journey of understanding business and understanding how that works, I mean, that's probably been the biggest learning curve.
Yeah.
And so with staffing and really what we've been on our journey of, especially in the last 3 years. Is systematizing everything. The onboarding process is systematized. Our underwriting, we have an underwriting department that every agent uses in our office. There's a couple legacy guys that don't, but the majority of our office uses our underwriting center, meaning that the customer will have, from the time they actually have a live offer, their experience will be identical when they get it closed. And that's very important to me, is make sure the experience is the same. So if they're working with Dominion Lending, they know that they know how our process works. Yeah. The communication of the realtor is the same. The communication of the lawyer is the same, no matter which guy you use, and it allows our newer guys to bank off of experience of our really experienced guys,
right?
Because we all created the system. So then
your people, I suppose, are focusing on excuse me, the client relationship rather than having to deal with the complexities of like where to get the deal done and, you know, who the best match is. And then I'm sure there's like a gazillion buttons you got to press properly and fields and all this stuff to do with your deal, right? Like that, I'd quit right there.
Yeah, and I think that's it. And one thing that we try and protect is we talk about the psychology of an entrepreneur, and really focusing on where your value is and what you're supposed to do for the customer. And so as an agent, as a broker, what's really important is that you're available. So your customer wants to call you and talk to you. When they can look up, they're like, whoa, what a busy day. I did a lot of work out there. And then they go home because they reward themselves. And I'm like, well, you actually didn't make any money. You didn't do anything. You were just putting out fires and doing. Let us help you with that, so that your brain stays safe to go out there and be of value to your customers and to get more. So
what a prospect,
Do you mind if I ask you, similar in the real estate on our end, is referrals, right? That has to be a huge part of your business. Yeah. Right? Like if I'm working for you and I'm new and I'm just waiting for the phone to ring, it's probably not going to ring, right? So how do you train people to go out there? Is it networking? What do you encourage them to do to make them successful?
Yeah, I think for every entrepreneur, that is where do I get the leads? Right. That's how all these kind of lead generator guys, that's how they can grasp people, because that's our biggest struggle. That's our biggest fear is where do we find all the people? We try and do our best. There's a lot that's on the individual. I think there's a skill set involved there for each entrepreneur. That's a skill set that you need to kind of grow your business. We just kind of help them as far as we'll provide you with all the tools to be a professional. Right. We'll provide you with all the tools to have confidence in what you're delivering, because that's a big part of selling. Right. And then we coach them like networking, go connect with the people that you believe that you'll be of service to, and that you could have a win-win relationship with, and make sure you're just getting the word out. That's the toughest part, and it's just a matter of training them on getting out there and doing the basics. Right. You still have to, like every basketball player, you still have to practice your foul shot. Right. You know, like the pros still practice it, so you still have to do the basics. Make your phone calls, go for lunches, ask people for advice. We always advise them, anyone that's doing any kind of volume or income that you want, go take them for lunch and steal as much time as they'll let you. Mm-hmm. And it's the cheapest education you'll ever get is buying someone a $30 lunch and asking them how they did it. And then our biggest thing is mimic around you. Just mimic until you can make it your own, because you don't know what your own is. Right. So lots of people are like, well, I don't know if that would work for me. I'm like, well, nothing. Currently, because you're new, just mimic who's around you, and they're flattered. They'll help you. Right. Most people, our culture is very much we'll open our books and here's exactly what I do, how I do it. Yeah. And so we just mimic, and then you'll start to find your path and your style.
Right. Cool. Yeah. So when you're, managing the business, are you at the stage now where you're completely leveraged out of doing like mortgage work yourself? Are you managing the brokerage and then like have stepped back from that? Are you still actively like chasing deals and you're doing the prospecting yourself, doing your lunches and all those things? So tell us about the day in the life of you, man.
Yeah. I mean, I am still a mortgage associate. That's still where the bulk of my income comes from is being a mortgage associate and executing the loans. I still have a large client base that I still service as far as that goes, finding the right lender for them, working with the staff on the team, making sure their experience is good. So I do that bulk of the time, and then I slot out a few hours a day where I'm all brokerage. How are we moving forward with the brokerage? Are the staff happy? I've got an operations manager, so she's a lifesaver for me. So she's all execution. Yeah. So her job is to take everything I say and make sure it actually happens, right? So and without her, I mean, we just wouldn't be able to function. So she's a crucial part of the team as far as the brokerage goes.
Sorry, you go ahead. I got a question after that.
So when you have an operations manager, when in your process did you invite her to come be a part of the company? Like how far in was that? Did you notice that right away, or did you realize, hey, like you had explained, hey, I'm doing all these jobs, right?
Well, when I took kind of sole, like that 3 years ago, took sole kind of direction of the company.
Okay.
It was no longer a partnership.
Right.
I have shareholders and all that kind of stuff, but it's kind of my direction, my vision.
Yeah.
That was when she came on
Okay.
to kind of help, and that's when we knew that in order to stay, because I'm one of the company's valued producers, so the company needs me to continue producing the way I produce, and so we needed somebody that could execute, because it just isn't. I would be doing two things poorly, so then it's her job to.
We just did this. So Mel, my wife, is our ops manager, ops director, and we were just out of curiosity business, and so we did one of these personality profiles, and like hers is like this perfectly like multifaceted like pie chart with like a little bit of everything in it, slightly more of one or the other, and then mine's like, you have two skills. Neither of which is execution, right? Just like ideas and like maximization, I think is what it was, just basically. So I'm like the guy that can dream, the guy that can bring people along for the ride, think big and all that. Yeah. But when it comes to like making anything happen, if you don't have people like an ops manager in place, you might as well just keep on doing one thing, like mortgages.
Yeah, you have to have it. And generally speaking, the kind of the CEO role, visionary is their skill set. Yeah. Is seeing how the game's going to play out. And where it needs to go. Yeah. And those guys, generally speaking, as you found out, the same with me, we need the execute, or otherwise nothing happens.
It's just a whirlwind around you, and it's like nothing's getting put into place after you like power through, right?
Yeah, I think every entrepreneur has that, because we have that energy, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and then 2 days later, you're like, that looks awesome, we're going to do this. And then every time I go away to a conference, everyone in the office is like, oh, this
why
sucks
is he doing
so
this
bad.
to us?
He's going to come back with 17 things.
Yeah, and all of them have to go into place like this week.
Actually, before he gets back, he's going to be emailing us.
Yeah, and we're slacking on Messenger. I'm like, oh, you guys don't believe this? I'm taking pictures of slides. This is incredible.
Like,
and they're like, this guy, like, we haven't even gotten a quarter of the way through his last conference.
I know.
And now he's in another one. So we really, what the operations is, we really shored her in and giving her control of the, here's the project management list. And then it's like, okay, here we want to do this. And now with her role, she's like, okay, that's great. I can do that. Which of these do you want to take out? Yeah. Because the team can't execute.
Yeah, you can run a couple things in tandem, but you can't run 5 things in tandem, and you got to prioritize.
Yeah, here's your 3 or 4, and if you want me to throw one more in there, that's cool. You can hire me another 2 people, or you can get rid of one of these things. So you just tell me which one we're doing, and then we'll proceed that way. And it really helps to have that person keep you in check to say, okay, we need to complete some of these.
It's true, because the concepts are, they seem simple enough, right? But the details are in the execution. I've talked lots about this book that I really, really love called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and it talks a lot about that, about how, ideas are cheap and easy. The 3 of us could sit here tonight and think of a way to make $1 billion, but try to execute on, 1% of one of those ideas, and
that's right.
It would take the ages and ages.
It is a difference, and that's why we, even we teach not to, to actually stop reading so much, stop learning so much, because it has just constantly mental chaos.
It's true.
And you're just always trying to do something else, and then you settle on, okay, we're going to execute this, and then you read something else, you're like, well, that might be better than this, and you can tell your brain to do anything, right?
Well, and then I find you get those feelings of being defeated, right? Where you're like, oh, I'm not making enough progress. Now I know like more that I'm not doing, right? And then yet another thing that has great tips in it, the stuff that I'm not doing, right? And then you're like, dude, you're not behind. You're actually quite far ahead. You're just feeling bad about it,
you have this guilt, right?
Yeah. Get behind your mind. Right?
Yeah.
You're just not keeping up with where your thoughts
That's great. I love that, man. I haven't thought about reading less. I've been guilting myself about not reading enough, but now I'm like, forget it, man. I'm feeling
get there. I'll just say it.
You know what? I just got like an extra 5 hours a week, man. Fist bump that.
But often you look at that, right? And you'll read articles that, this CEO or this one does this. He's going to read 57 books in a year, and he does this, and he also walks his dog for 45 minutes every morning before breakfast. And I want to challenge that sometimes and go, well, there's only 24 hours in the day, and he says only productive 6 hours of that day. He walked his dog for 45 minutes, right? And I'm like, it's just not jiving, but we've read it, and subconsciously now we're like, oh, I need to do this. Right? How can I possibly turn this into my reality? Yeah. And then at the end of the day, it's like you said, I'm not making it, right? Like you're chasing 2 rabbits and they're both getting away. right?
Right.
But then you read one more thing quickly that night. You're like, oh, I better get that book, right? Even though I haven't read the previous one.
Yeah, there's 17 that you're on your list.
Right.
I literally have 132 books in my office right now, and if you opened any one of them up, like I think they would all be the first crack. Like they're just sitting there, man.
Yeah, because you're gonna get to.
I want to, I got to, but
But I think sometimes if you have that stack there and you were just to grab one and just flip it open, wherever it may be, don't start on page 1, right? Just flip it open and you'll get some tidbit and you'll read it, and maybe that's all we need for the day, right? As opposed to trying to conquer that entire context.
That just like totally breaks every little bit of like organizational skill I have. Like, what do you mean open a book midway? That's madness,
right? Just skim it,
right? What?
Right? You know what? I just read 52 books,
right? Yeah. Done.
But you know what? Maybe we need to change things up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, why are we doing it the way we're doing it?
Yeah.
Well,
It's just we're getting the results we've always got.
We feel some pride and we feel some accomplishment in look how many books I read. And then if we say, well, how much have we executed? You're like, well, let's not talk about that. Let's just talk about how many books I've read.
I haven't had time.
Let's not talk about how much implementation went on from those books.
Right.
Let's just talk about I read them. So it's and to me, it's no different than watching movies or whatever. If you're just reading them and doing nothing about them. And so we started doing a little bit less. And it's the same as seminars. I was going to a seminar every month, man. And I was, you're hitting the planes, you're going to all these seminars, and I'm like, and one day it dawned on me, and when I started picking and choosing them more carefully, I think I'm a fan. Like I said, I think I'm actually a groupie of these guys, and I'm just following them around to these conferences. But when I get home, the emotion's gone, and then I just keep on. It's not that we're not accomplishing; we've come a long way, but sometimes it's got to be a little bit more carefully calculated.
But even if we back it down to grade school, right? Is how are we taught? We're only taught as much as we can take, right? And it's it's a gradual step, but I think we hopscotch, right? Yeah. It's like you said, let's become a junkie, right? Like a conference junkie or whatever it is. We follow every possible thing, right? And I've really been trying to delete some of the things I follow, right? Because I can't take it. I'm like, why am I even reading that, right? And then, let's say the three of us we're writing articles, right? Well, I can pretty much guarantee we're all writing the same article with a little bit different spin on it. And guess what? Second quarter of the year, that's going to change, right? All the same 5 guys write the same article.
The new Facebook algorithm comes out, and
right?
That course is worthless, right?
Yeah, well, that's what happens. So there's a lot of it's just about finding what you can be consistent at. We always say it's not the best system you're after; you're just after a system.
I was reading on your profile, so maybe before you made this change, you're a pretty big fan, or you're like a trained trainer of one of these guys, right?
So I got certified. So I got certified for a few years by Brennan Bouchard.
Right.
Yeah, so I went down there and took his high performance coaching, and it was great. I'm a big fan of his as far as performance goes, the psychology of performance, courage and fears, and so I went down, and you spend 5 full days as he trains you on his program and how to kind of take people through it. And we did it and took some agents through it, and I've done some some people outside of that. And then there was a halt when I took over the brokerage myself. There was just a lot of stuff to be done and a lot of commitment on my part. So so we kind of put that aside for a few years, but it's actually I'm actually just working with a sales team, and we're ramping it back up here probably within the next 6 months. Yeah,
so when you say work, but when you say ramping it back up, with your sales team or with a sales team to take that product to market?
That's right. With my own coaching. Yeah, my own coaching with my own sales team.
Got it.
To take that product out to market. Part of it, a lot of it comes is the sales is tough. And right now I have strong commitments to Dominion and what we're doing there and my own customers. Yeah. But that's just kind of a dream project that I went on that journey for a reason. Yeah. And so it's something that I
gives you that chance to perform, really, right?
Yeah, I think a little bit it's there, and a little bit it's just to challenge people and kind of make an impact, kind of make see how much of a footprint I can make just on my philosophies. And
it's a scalable business too that goes beyond your local market. I mean, presumably you're licensed to trade in mortgages all over, but the cool thing about coaching and leadership is that you can be a traveling roadshow. You can do it from here, and you can have a massive worldwide audience, or you can hit the stages too, right? Yeah,
there's lots of different ways to do it. And how we're going to start, I mean, we're still in the stages of brainstorming that all out and doing kind of calls once a week to kind of hash all how that's going to look and what's feasible and what's scalable and how much time I have and I'm willing to dedicate to it. And so it's
and how much your wife is willing to let you hit the road with
yeah,
it?
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too.
That's really what you mean, right?
Yeah, because a lot of it, and we teach that with our mortgage brokerage, is the number one thing is quality of life.
Yeah.
And that's something I think entrepreneurs miss a little bit is when you're building out your business, when you're creating systems, you have to think, well, does this mesh the quality of life that I'm after? Because all these books say just work 15 hours a day and don't worry about it.
Grind,
But as we're learning from past mistakes and people on their deathbeds writing letters to the world, that's actually not the way. Nobody wants to really live that way. You got kids and you got things that you want to pour into, you spouses and all this stuff that's life. And so that's part of the thing that we even in our office talk to our associates and all of us about is breaks. Calculated breaks, like take them.
Like actually
every 14 weeks you should be taking a couple weeks or a week at least.
People last 14 weeks.
Most people do, right? Like,
I'm quite weak apparently. I'm ready to like have a nap like under this table right now, and I've been at it like 7 weeks.
I have people in my office that would probably challenge me to make it 14 weeks, but you know, like lots of times we tell people like, you know, if you're in a structured work environment where you can only take so many holidays, or if you're that kind of entrepreneur where you have a business that requires you to be there for a certain amount of time, but you've got to take these breaks. And like, well, I can't really, the business can't handle it, or I can't. I'm like, you're doing it anyway because you're gonna get inefficient for 3-4 weeks, so you might as well enjoy it.
You do such a disservice when you work yourself to the bone like that. Eh? Like you just show up like such a pile, and you make mistakes and
your headspace. You're costing yourself far more money by not doing it than you are by
people see you mailing it in, right?
Oh yeah, they know.
Yeah,
they know right away.
Your team knows, right?
Yeah, they can feel it.
Yeah. So what else are you into, man? Are there other things that you do for fun or for business that keep you engaged, or is that? I mean, dude, trust me, that's a lot. But I'm just wondering if there's
I don't know. Should I be doing something else?
There's nothing clandestine that I'm driving at, by the way.
I'll recommend this book.
Right. Oh no.
Here's work-life balance.
Yeah, right.
I am. I always joke about. I'm a fairly. I guess I'm fairly, shallow in that way. Is I love business. I love to work. And to pour into what I'm doing. Love my family. Like I have a great marriage, got great kids, friends and family. I really like to socialize that way, and I enjoy movies, and that's from my acting background. And honestly, that's the epitome of my that's my life.
That's
travel,
your joy, right?
Well, travel, family, friends, work.
Dude, I think that's wonderful. Like that's one of the things that people often ask me. Like we're in front of clients a lot in all of our businesses, right? What do you like to do? And I'm like, I'm doing what I like to do. Like that is true. It just sometimes it wears me out. But I've tried like shooting. I've tried golf. I'm not really good at any of it. And I don't like doing things that I suck at. And I happen to be good at my job, so I do that lots, right? I like my family. I hang out with them. I make like 18 breakfasts every day for my 2 kids. They throw them all on the floor. Like that's kind of my joy. I get that.
Yeah, it's. I think a lot of times we put pressure on ourselves to. We see social media now. And we see all these incredible things that people do or are into, and it's like I should really have a hobby like that. And then
I need a yacht.
Yeah, and then after you think about it, I'm like, but I don't really want to do any of that. And they're good at that, and that's great because they grew up doing it, or there's something that's really endearing about it to them.
Tick,
right? But it's I think that's our challenge with social media now is to not compare, because we'll compare. You always compare someone's best with your worst. You're never on equal ground.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of I think lots of this. I'm a big Darren Hardy fan as far as personal development. We've had him speak to our company. We've been at lots of his events and stuff like that. And that was just a lot of that journey of being comfortable with this is just me. I love work and I just love that. I love people, so I like pouring into people that way. That's why kind of both the paths I've chosen involve pouring into people. Yeah. And that's that's it. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, I feel bad. I should really get into something else.
Start another sideline business.
I should start something else.
Right.
And that's and my wife's like, no, please, just.
Well,
just.
I think some people, as you study them and you start to talk to people, is say in your position too. Often they'll look at maybe a position on a board somewhere, right? Just to spread, a different viewpoint in their life, right? They're looking at something instead of, you know, always a side hustle or whatever it may be. Maybe it's a position on a board, right? Like, hey, I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
Boards are always looking for people, right? And looking for people.
That's what you need to do, Derek. You need to sit on a board.
Yeah.
And spend many books that they're going to make you read too.
Right. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're comfortable in what you do, you're happy in what you do,
Yeah.
right? And as opposed to picking up, hey, here's another business that I know is going to be mentally and physically draining on me and everyone around me. You know, there's so many things we can do, but how do you cherry pick that? Right?
Yeah.
How do you grab that you?
Well, those things are way less stressful too, right? That's the nice thing about doing stuff like
way
that.
less
You're not
buy-in,
like
right?
your income and your mortgage and your business and your associates aren't depending on you to, like, you know, show up in A1 condition at this board meeting, you know.
Right. Well, and when you interview, you know, or talk to, you know, whether it's relatives or people you know, post-retirement, oftentimes you'll say, so what are you doing now, right? Some will say, oh, I'm just bored. I wish I was working again. Mm-hmm. But the ones who are volunteering and have volunteered throughout their career or their lifetimes, right, seem to be a little more, you know, satisfied with their life, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, I'm involved with this. I'm involved with this, right? It's not a financial thing tied to it, right? It's more
I think it's fulfillment.
Satisfaction, fulfillment.
Yeah, it's fulfillment. Right? I think with entrepreneurs, I think that's the biggest focus for any entrepreneur is to find a way to fulfill that. We didn't, you don't write down when you're a kid, you don't say I wanted to be a policeman, a fireman, a doctor, and a realtor. Or a mortgage broker. Like you don't write that down. It never. But
for sure,
you
not
know
a realtor.
So it started, and it really, and what it does, it started out with survival mode of you wanting to just feed your family and feed yourself.
Yeah,
that's where it starts, and then you start inside of that. You start to see what you're doing and get fulfilled by it. Oh wait, you know, I'm making a difference in this transaction in this people's lives.
I remember growing up and telling people, like, I want to work with people. Right? I had no idea what that meant. Like, I think when I was young, I wanted to be a teacher, and that's kind of what that meant to me at that time. But yeah, I mean, this work, your work, I mean, what we do collectively, whether you're a doctor or, you know, you work in IT or, you know, you're working with people and you're serving, and I think that's really what I meant. But I didn't have, like, at that time, any concept of what service looked like and how my natural skills might allow me to do most anything. I mean, I think that's the beauty of, you know, us as human beings, and frankly, your training, right? You know, sets you up perfectly to be able to have compelling conversations with clients and to be able to understand, like, how to communicate effectively and ways to build trust and rapport, right? Those are all huge pieces of being a successful entrepreneur. And, you know, whatever your commodity is, you know, you're going to be able to deliver that to the market successfully with those natural skills, right?
Yes, it's you know, as long as you love it and you're doing it for the right reasons and you care about who you're doing it for.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's it, and that is it, and that's, I mean, for any entrepreneur too. If you got kids, we encourage you to not use the word passion around them. Like I think it's an overused word.
Yeah.
And fulfillment is better to teach them what fulfillment means, because passion means that if you don't enjoy it, that, you know, like that's basically what they're taking now is I'm not passionate about it. Meaning, you know, so the second they have a day where, like, oh, it kind of sucks and this work kind of sucks, I'm not passionate about it, and our youth now are they're giving up really quickly,
right?
And because that's the message they've been told. Well, if you don't love it, don't do it. And it's like, well, 90% of what everyone does always, they're not gonna like. They're not gonna like, even if they look at their favorite play. If they're a hockey player and they say, well, Wayne Gretzky, he was passionate about it. I'm like, yeah, but he hated 90% of it. I guarantee you he did. Yeah. You think he liked busting it every day on the ice? You think he liked all the pressure of who he was and what he carried? And he didn't like. He loved playing the game, but that was a small fraction of what he actually did. Yeah. Right. So
a great one I read about that was Muhammad Ali. He said he hated running, but he loved being the world champion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So there's lots of unsexy to every successful guy that that you admire, guy, girl, whoever. Like when you admire what they've accomplished, there's so much unsexy to how they got there. Yeah, right. And so I think that's where fulfillment, because that's what drove them.
That resonates with me, because we're onboarding a lot of agents right now, and we're scaling massively. And one of the things that I make really clear from the beginning is that, hey, like, we're mostly practicing. Like, we come to work and we practice and we practice and we practice and we practice when we're tired, and we practice when we're hungover, and we practice when we don't feel like it, and then we wake up and we practice some more, and then it's game day, and that's awesome. But some days you lose the game, and then you get down and bummed. But guess what? You wake up the next day and you practice some more, and then sometimes it's the highlight reel from, like, you know, from the finals, right? Yeah. But it's mostly practice and some more practice.
Yep.
And so if you don't find the idea of, like, practicing till you get super proficient at something and showing up at, like, the championship, then it's it's probably going to be the wrong deal, man, because a lot of work between here and like, you know, Friday Night Lights.
Well, it is.
Right. And the season's short.
Yeah.
And it unfortunately isn't a movie montage all the
Yeah,
time.
right.
It doesn't happen within 30 seconds.
Don't believe my Instagram feed.
It isn't like that. And that, Darren
Yeah.
Hardy actually has a great way of putting it. He says, don't compare someone's front stage life to your backstage reality.
Yeah, right.
Because he said, like, other times you're like, look at it, he loves it. He said he loves being on stage. He loves speaking and helping people.
Yeah.
He says he hates kind of the creation and the prep work and maybe not the creation, but he says he hates lots of the prep work that he does and the day to day, but he loves impacting people and he loves speaking to people. He loves all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, you know, so that's so I think it's important that you know, as an entrepreneur, people remember that, because there's more rough days than good days.
Oh, sure there are.
You know,
and you gotta love like overcoming those little things too, right? I mean, every day has its lumps, and you want to take those things and learn in those, right? And find satisfaction in those learning opportunities, and be okay with totally sucking at something that you just did, and be like, yeah, man, you know what? I'm not going to suck at that for too much longer, and that be fun, you know?
Yeah, the learning, the education.
But I think where you started out, right, is like even in our world is every day we are auditioning, right? It's the audition, like Courtney alluded to, is we're not just stepping into the big show, right? Like we're really not. It's we're auditioning every day for the part we want to play.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. You know, for simple terms, and it's not easy, but every day it's okay. You're back up. You're back up. Right. You're back up, and you have to ask yourself, what am I going to do today differently than I did yesterday? Right. How am I going to get a better result? Well, that's what we concentrate on every. You know, you're onboarding people every day, or you're working with them. And
I'm going to give my kids both Benadryl tonight. I think that's what I'm going to do.
NyQuil.
And they're gonna sleep. They're gonna sleep through the entire night, right?
Yeah.
And yourself.
He's been there. I can just tell. Last night was one of those nights of mine. I was like, seriously, everybody, shut up, go to sleep.
And yourself, right?
Yeah, you're in the please go to sleep.
How old are your kids?
They're 12 and 10, and they're
Oh
girls.
man,
and
you're like grandpa compared to me.
Well, I still have people. Like, now I'm at the stage where on the weekend I'm walking in the room saying, "You gonna wake up anytime soon?" Like, you guys are in the please go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm in the like, please get out of bed.
Come on,
Like,
guys, it's like 10 o'clock.
It's like, oh, 10. I would not be calling them at 10.
Really?
Well, oh yeah. Sometimes it's noon, and I'm like, come on, girls. Okay,
That's amazing.
That's enough. And and sometimes you're not saying that's enough. Sometimes you're like, you just go as long as you need to go.
I hear you. I can read between those lines. Yeah. So I want to just take a step back, man, because we kind of rushed over the part where you got to 18 people at your company, and I know that it's really difficult to be the kind of person that people want to hang out with, and I know that it's difficult to be a leader that deserves people being around you, and you've talked a bit about the work that you've done to get there, but it's not just Darren Hardy, and it's not just some of the readings that you've done. Talk to us about, like, you know, who you were, and this might be a little bit tough for you to be like, to appear boastful, and I'm not asking you to do that, but you have to be a certain kind of person that wants, that clients are going to show up for, that a team is going to show up for, and that's going to be able to deliver enough value that kind of keeps happening over and over. So talk to us about that. How did that journey work for you? Because it wasn't like Derek Luce showed up on the stage one day and everybody's like, hey, there's 18 of us, let's go.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you know, I don't want to, like, I wouldn't take a ton of credit for it, but, you know, we just created a culture of achievement, and that's kind of what was drawing people. A culture of, you know, if other people said, I think I can make this much money, we were always like, I think we can push the boundaries. And so we always had a culture of success and personal development, and we always had great people, kind people, and so it was just a matter of creating a culture of, we're going to make a difference, we're doing something fresh and new as far as how we systematized everything, and it just started to attract people, and every time we got a good person, that would attract another good person. So it's really just about getting a few good people that really fly your flag really, really strongly, and it just starts to attract other people. I know I'm mailing in this answer here. I do know that, but it's
no, man, that's a good answer.
But because I'm not giving really
I'm
many.
Sure you take your shirt off and give us some double bucket.
Have great people. I hope you took notes on that. Get good people, but it really is that simple. Is some of our agents are the best agents, you know, that a broker could kind of ask for. They compliant, honest, fly the flag, hardworking, innovative, those are the, so now what we've done is that culture is attracting that culture. And we just, you know, we had another very high producing mortgage guy in Thunder Bay that, you know, all the way from Thunder Bay says, I want to use your team and be a part of your group, and just kind of joined us from across the country.
Like virtually? Or
virtually. He
really?
had his own office out there. He's been an agent for a decade. He's a very, very high producer, a great person, great human being. Yeah. And he just knows how we run the system. And really it came from myself. There's Graham Reimer, who's, you know, who's a part owner of our office as well. And he would just see us at events, not stressed. And he and part of it to be like, oh man, like, how are you? What are you guys doing? Like, how's your system? And I'm like, listen, we have great people in the background.
Boatloads of Ativan.
And we're like, we just try not to be sober, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's right.
And so but that was really what he was kind of. And then he kind of looked into our system. We had lots of chats with him. Yeah. So across the country comes, but it comes some of the being part of a group of quality human beings. I think that's the biggest thing. And keeping someone that doesn't belong, what we got good at, and it did not right away. It took us some learning and some hardships and you know, some lawsuits to realize that keeping bad people around is a risk that you don't want to take.
Yeah, it poisons your waters, right?
And it just wrecks your culture. But when you actually stand for something, the people around you really appreciate it. They're like, listen, this is how we have to do it. This is what we stand for. You're not going to agree all the time, but we're always going to be able to, you're going to be able to fire at me. You're going to be able to speak candid with me. Never take it personal. We have that open door policy, and a true open door policy, not a, hey, say what you want to me and then I'll pout like a child and not talk to anyone.
Do you guys watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to see it. So the big actor, and then I forget what his name is. I've got an open door policy. Come see me anytime. He's like, well, actually, my door's closed, and I prefer not to speak to people very often. So, if you wouldn't mind, just maybe sending me an email. Or, you know.
Well, everybody, we've all worked with that guy that's like, you know, anytime you have a problem, just let me know. So then you let him know, and he just
it's all offensive.
Very upset, right?
Yeah, he reacts so poorly. And you're like, well, I thought this was an open door policy. I thought this is so. We've kind of prided ourselves. We're a transparent office. We don't really hide anything from anybody. We're just like, if you want to know, you can know. You know, aside from personal details of other people, I mean, but if, you know, anything how the brokerage runs, what decisions we made, why we made them, we're just completely transparent. And that in turn got us the good people. And then that's what keeps us growing is that. And our support in our system is
like just a simple question to ask yourself. Yeah. And if you have any, like even the least reservation in answering that question, it's the wrong person. Yeah. Like, how could it be so simple? But it's true. Like, everybody on my team, we just like hanging out. You know, we have a beer together or not have a beer together, whatever. Yeah. But you'd like to spend that time. You
like to talk to them. You like to know about their lives, and it's one thing that we learned even from Darren Hardy. One of the things we learned through his CEO course is when is the right time to fire somebody, and it's the second you think of it. Because he said A players will never. He says you can get mad at an A player, you never think of firing them because they're good. Yeah. They're so good at what they do. So you could be frustrated with them. You could be concerned with a decision they made, but you love them because they're an A player. He said an A player will never make you think about firing them. So he said the second you think of firing someone, that means it warrants that they're probably not a right fit for the team. Because somebody who's awesome does not warrant that, no matter what the situation is. And so we always take that pretty literally in our office now. We're like, if we think it's not working, then that's my biggest struggle. Because if you love people, it's just a really hard thing to say you don't fit. Yeah, you're not.
Or you're not cutting the mustard, or whatever performance, or
So that's a real tough thing for.
We say no assholes, and so like it's kind of easy when you just look at somebody and say like, is that person an asshole when nobody's looking, or when they're not at an interview, like right? You can get a fairly good sense of that. But I'm with you, man. I really struggle like when it comes to that moment where you're like, you know what? Like now, like right now, you mean like I got to do it today? Maybe we'll just give him another year.
Is there a better time?
A mentor of mine and helps me in business a lot, and that's one thing that he's always really helped me with is he said, listen, who are you to put their life on hold when you know what the result that's going to come is? Yeah. So there's no longevity with them with you. So why are you so important that you could stall their life like this? So he said, because of your own selfish beliefs. And I'm like, and that one's always hit me hard.
Because
I'm like, oh man, Yeah. He's like, you're not going further with this person, but yet you're going to delay their life 6 months.
And you're not going to pour into them the way that you might with
Yeah.
somebody
So he's like, this is actually more. It's more selfish on you to not do it just because you don't want to hurt their feelings. And so that's been it's always. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it. There's times I have to tell myself that probably 8 or 9 times before I can figure it out. But gratefully we haven't had to do that for a while. We've gotten great people. But
And you know what? Sometimes I think, when those situations happen, either people will leave. And I had a great mentor one time too, also tell me he's never fired anyone. They've all fired themselves. Right? And I use that line because the term firing people.
Am I being fired?
One, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm firing.
This was an odd time to choose to do
know,
this,
right?
but that's okay. That's okay. Let's just get it out here.
You just said the second
you
think of it, do it. Right? So you know what? So we'll just shut her down.
Now taking over Atkinson.
But you know what I mean is, I think there's so much truth to that. Right? If we actually look at it, it doesn't make it any easier. Right? But if we take the firing aspect out of it, like you said, and you're helping somebody move along, right? It's like when somebody quits. Oftentimes, like say you had somebody quit and he's your prized person. Offense is the first thing that hits a lot of people, right? Oh, I'm offended. Like why would they leave? As opposed to, you know what, you're helping yourself. And Courtney's done this a lot of times too, is, hey, no, maybe it's time to go. In a good way, right? No, I've seen you do it, I've witnessed it. You know what? It's probably better for that person, right? They're going to be happier where they go.
And, think of it this way too. I had a meeting today with someone who's leaving like a very prestigious career to get into real estate, and the level of like enthusiasm and excitement that she has, like at this divergent path from where she's been going for like the last 11 years to where she's going to be coming with us. It's very similar, right? I mean, it's like, who's to say that there's another person in our mix that isn't prepared to go on some other awesome life journey that we're holding back by just not being honest with them about how much, they're really not the right fit, or, they're not able to deliver in the way that their clients need, or, whatever, right? And to help them, like, go find out that next badass thing,
and you love them out the door, and even if it's their decision, your decision. I think you have to love them out the door just to know that it's not personal. This is a business. It's a business decision. It's for them or for no matter who's kind of laying it out. The only time I've ever really struggled is when you have to have the conversation when I know that I played a huge role in that person losing their job because I didn't train them well enough. I didn't prepare them well enough. I didn't give them enough support. When I know that was me, that's when the biggest. I know when I'm struggling, I have to reflect on, okay, what have I actually done for this person? Because the reason I'm struggling is because I'm going to be a hypocrite when I tell them they're not a good fit, and they're going to say, well, we were trying, we just don't know what the heck you want me to do. Right, so we've really shored up, and that's, I think, why we've got great people now. It's because that was a big thing for me, is to, well, am I training them properly? Are we supporting them enough? Are we...
What do you talk about, like that whole messy stage where you're like, all of a sudden you got a business? You're like, wait a minute. There's people behind me. Right? And then, like, that's that time, right? Where you're like, everybody's onboarding, and you're like, okay, everybody, like, yeah, let's go do mortgages. Woohoo! And then nobody's like, wait a minute, I don't know how to do mortgages. And Derek, can you help? And you're like, no, I'm busy doing mortgages. Like,
and everybody's been with that guy where they're in that realization, and they're like, so what do I do? Be great. Right? Be great. People. You're gonna do great. You be great. Go out there and be great, and everything's gonna work out. Right?
Like, I don't know about this onboarding process.
Yeah. What was Derek's early training like? Be honest. Be great. Compliance, and go get them.
Go get them.
I seem to be struggling, but I'm trying to go get them. Trying to be great.
I woke up this morning and I got them. Oh, yeah, it's true, right? Yeah, it is true. Well, it's good to hear that you've shored up that training program. It's huge. Like, we're going through that too, where we're trying to get our curriculum developed. We're making sure that it's consistent, and but when do you ever get it right?
You don't.
You're gonna have,
it's ongoing.
10 years from now, you'll have 150 brokers with you, and you'll be struggling at that time too. It's always some challenge, but isn't that why we're doing what we're doing? Right. Like, hey, we love these challenges, and why stop pushing, right? I mean, it kind of gets a little bit boring maybe if you stop, right?
I think that's why people like entrepreneurship. I think if you kind of look at the basic needs that everybody needs. Variety is one of mine. Like I can't have the same every day. My number one need is variety, and so that's why entrepreneurship.
What's your wife say to that? What does your wife say? Come on.
It's not the only need. You get it different ways. Yeah, but that's what you need. Is it can't. I don't need security. Is something that's fairly low on my list of needs. You need them all, but you rank them at different heights, and so that's why entrepreneurship. So you need that, and so I think a little bit of if you stay humble. That you never think you got it right, and that's what keeps it fun. Is I think when you think you got it right, and hey, we're awesome, we got it right. I think that's when it's over. That's the day that it's over. Because you'll be surpassed, you'll be out innovated, you'll be out. So I think most great entrepreneurs are always super hard on themselves. Yeah. Like I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, I haven't done this enough, or I'm no big deal. Everybody I've talked to that I've admired, I've never heard them say I'm so great at this, and I did this so great. Everybody I know that I had admired, they're just like, you know what? Great people were around me, and I had a great company, and I didn't really do anything. I was just lucky, and they
You're
just,
like, what?
and they're not, but you always just appreciate a little bit of the humility of knowing that people are around.
I doubt they're faking it, right? I mean, if you think of it, like how else could you grind so hard for so long to be as successful as some of these people that you're talking about? It would have to be through that. You'd have to be like fearful that the wheels are just going to come right off the bus, wake up each day hungry, grind, whatever, right? I
think we talk about, like you get some success, you have your own brokerage now, you like your own brand that you created, and things are going well. And overnight success because you just started yesterday, right? And that's what people don't understand. How many times you questioned what direction you were going? Yeah. How many times you questioned what decision you were making? And we lay at night
and
today,
and stuff, then right? Today, like before this show, like right?
Yeah, like everything.
While you're sitting here,
one of the most insightful things that I heard from my wife. This is whatever. She's like. She never really can tell when I'm super freaked out. Even today, like we've known each other a decade, right? Been married a long time. And she's like constantly surprised. Like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm so freaking scared. She's like, what? Like, I'm crapping my pants. She's like, oh, like no idea, right? Yeah. So you wonder, like, the world must just look at us like we were like completely fearless. Meanwhile, we're just like tears pouring on the inside, right? Like,
and that's where the spouse knows. Every December, I'm a basket case.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, we've been doing this for 12 years now. Mm-hmm. She said, you have your own brokerage. Everything's going good. Like, I'm like, well, that's it. I guess that's it. The market's pushing me out. Right. December next year, I'm making no money. All the agents are leaving. That's it. I had a good run.
Yeah, that's my January.
I had a good run, but it's time to go get a lawnmower and start fresh again. Like I was 12 years old asking people to cut their grass. I said, that's it for me. Like, why are you like this? I'm like, just let me go through this. It's every December.
Yeah. It's true though. You got to your mom Curry's set. Yeah. Well, good that you know that about yourself though, right? And how much, like, probably took you a decade to figure that out too, right?
That I do it every time. Like, I'm out of business every December. Yeah. And I think it's kind of healthy because you reassess what you're
December doing before, but now you're really crashing.
No, you're really this is it. Yeah. Didn't you had a great year? Yep. But not this one. This one coming up is this one, and that's
much different.
That's a schizophrenia of an entrepreneur. I think every entrepreneur can relate to that. Is we're freaked out all the time, and if you can mentally overcome that, because you're gonna do it, so you can't stop it. That's right. You're gonna do it. You mentally overcome it. You push forward, even though you're scared. That's the difference between the guys that have something that they've done and something that they wish they did.
I think it's all. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think it's why it's so important to have a super stable spouse as an entrepreneur. Like I'm so grateful for my wife. Just be like, she just constantly talking me off a ledge. Oh, it'll be fine. I'm like, you don't take this seriously enough. She's like, just relax. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm like, you haven't considered all the variables. She's like, I have. It's gonna be okay. I'm like, no, you're not listening.
Yeah, and it is. So I'm glad you said that, because that is the spouse is crucial to an entrepreneur, and how they give you the courage to step forward there. And lots of times when you find that spouse that you're connected to, that stability, it actually gives you the courage to pursue something that is a risk.
Oh yeah,
because you're so confident in what you have in your personal life. It's pretty crazy. I mean, every time I've watched someone try and go out on their own in self-employment or entrepreneurship, all that stuff, and their spouse is just neurotic and freaking out and won't support them, it just never ends. Because eventually they love that person so much that they just revert back to whatever they want. Yeah. Or they can't handle this. It's causing too much stress on her. I'll just go get that job, even though I don't want to. Mm-hmm. It's for her and I'll do it, or it's for him and I'll do it. Yeah. And so we see that happen a lot, and so the spouse is crucial. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're getting some legs and you spend lots of hours, go kiss your spouse, go thank them, because it's really important. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think we're just about, we're overtime actually. We could probably hang out for another 2 or 3 hours, but we've got to let you get back to your life. So this has been the Dooryard Union. What's that?
They already did.
There's nobody there. Like, come on, man. They have better things to do than watch the likes of me and my lame ass life.
They just
Right?
started
We're all
their
thinking the same
they're
thing.
doing their
right?
side
Us
hustle.
losers. Yeah, they're grinding their side hustle, man.
Getting great people.
Go be great, yeah. This has been the Dooryard Union. We get together once a week, and we talk to badasses like Mr. Derek Luce here with Dominion Lending Mortgage Excellence. Me and Colin Harms want to say thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hive space.
All right, and I want to say thanks to Doris for hosting us here live at the Hive Coworking space.